Hi guys! In today's video we'll be doing this Maleficent inspired doll. It has been requested a lot for me to make more Disney villain inspired dolls, and especially Maleficent has been requested a lot, so I hope you guys enjoy my take on the character. For the base of this project I used this second-hand Monster High doll specifically for the skin tone and also the face mold. The skin tone is closer to that of the character than most of the others, and also this one has a slightly slimmer face in contrast to something like Draculaura. Firstly I pulled off the head and then removed all of the hair. I also cut away the ears because I wouldn't be needing them. Now, using polymer clay, before we do anything else, we're going to sculpt the horns. To do this you want to condition some clay, and I then took 2 equal sized balls and rolled them into the general horn shape, cut away the rounded bottom, and then I started smushing them onto the head. And that's why we haven't removed the face or anything at this point, because we want to be cleaning it afterwards again. But this way we can get a set of horns that are actually molded to the actual top of the head. When you're happy with the shape, you're going to take a hairdryer, mine is pretty old and beat up, and then you're going to use this to heat up the surface of the clay. Allow the clay to cool again, and now you can gently squish the head in order to remove the horns. Then you want to bake it completely according to package instructions. Then we're going to move on to the regular procedure of using acetone to remove the original face and then prime the face with the Mr. Super Clear spray. For the repaint I'll be using some chalk pastel, watercolor pencils and a bit of acrylic paint. Firstly I dusted a light grey chalk pastel all over the face, trying to conceal some discolorations that the doll had, and that's just something you have to work around when you buy second-hand dolls. Moving on to the eyes and the eyebrows, I had a picture of the character on my phone next to me so I could see the general features of the face, and then I adjusted it to the size and also the features of this doll so that it wouldn't look all weird. Maleficent's iris or pupil or whatever you'd say is pretty small in the original character, but I made that quite a lot bigger on my doll just because when you have so much of a bigger eye, it just look weird if you have it being all a black pupil. That just looks kind of creepy. So I made it slightly bigger, and I also decided to paint it grey rather than being all black, so I could actually distinguish where the actual iris versus the pupil would be. The eyebrows is a big part of what makes a villain look villainous, I guess. So I started a bit with the angle, and this is what I ended up with. I always shade the eye whites, or in this case the eye yellows, with a bit of a darker color at the top, and I started by doing this in pencil and later I did pastel too, but it just helps to make the eye look rounded. For her eyeshadow, which she has not on her eyelid, but from her brow bone and up to her eyebrow, I used chalk pastel in a purple color, and I then decided to add a bit of darker purple in the outer corner, and then also some black just to make it more of a smoked out look. I used black pastel, but very lightly for the general shading all around the face, both to make the features look a bit more defined, but also to darken up her color just a tiny bit, because Maleficent's face isn't completely white, it's more of a dead grey tone. For the lips, I went with a bold red like she has, and also I made the Cupid's bow slightly rounded. And I also underdrew the lips just a tiny bit, because the Monster High dolls tend to have very big poofy pouty lips, but the characters doesn't always, so in order to make it look just a tiny bit slimmer, I underdrew them. In this next layer, I went over pretty much everything I've done before to build a more solid color. I use a white pencil to strategically highlight around the face. I use the watercolor effect of my white pencil in order to get a very defined highlight of the eyes. I use a black pencil to mark out the edges of where her headpiece is going to start, and then I start filling in the very edge of it using black acrylic paint. Then I glued both of the horns in place. I'll be using nail acrylic, both liquid and powder, to fill in the slight gap around the horns, but also all the tiny holes in the head from the hair. Once the acrylic is completely dry, you can take a file over it to smooth it out, and then paint it with acrylic paint. To finish off the headpiece, I used a white pencil to slightly draw on the faint lines. Seal the head with the Mr. Super Clear spray a final time, let it dry, and then I glued on some eyelashes because I like 3-dimensional eyelashes for drama, and then I glazed both the eyes and the lips. Now for the body, I painted around the neck and top of the chest with black acrylic paint as well, since her head wrap seems to extend down there. And then I removed the color of the hands, which were purple, and painted those a very light grey. For her dress or robe, or however you would define that, I used some black fabric, folded in half, and kept it pretty simple by simply cutting a shape around the doll. Then I cut a slit up the middle, which is how you're going to get it on. For the collar, I painted a piece of fabric in this shape, since I didn't have the right color. Now place the rope on the outside of the collar, fold over the edges to make them look neat, and then overlap in the middle and pin in place. Then you want to pin it down the sides to give it shape. Now you want to sew down the middle and also the sides, but don't sew around the sleeves, which will give nice open poofy looking sleeve. If you want to, you can add more layers inside the robe. I believe she has purple layers in there, but I chose to keep mine simple. And there we are. Now you can adjust the length of the sleeves. I cut them a tiny bit so her hands would poke out, and then you can style it. For his staff, I glued a bead on top of a wooden dowel. Again, I kept it simple, but you can make it as detailed as you like. For the final touch, I added some black cardstock spikes on the sides of her head. And then she's done. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below if there's any other Disney villains or any other villains you'd like to see me make. And I'll see you guys in a new video real soon. Bye!